Saul Over Soon.
You're Slippin' Jimmy. Slippin' Jimmy with a law degree is like a chimp with a machine gun.
Blow my magic flute.
Money is not beside the point. Money is the point.
That's what a Chicago sunroof is. Now you know.
Saul Over Soon.
It's a real thing. I didn't make it up.
Nobody wants to leave home.
Welcome to Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. I'm Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, and murder was not the case that they gave me. I'm here with my co-host Magnum Mills, and we're going to cover the sixth and final season of Better Call Saul. Get ready, baby.
Like the man said, I'm Magnum Mills. Thank you for checking out Saul Over Soon. Please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, on social media at Saul Over Soon. The YouTube channel for us is JoeBlowFootballShow.com. We're on social media at Joe Blow Show. Please remember, follow, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And on this episode, we're going to cover season 6, episode 4 of Better Call Saul. Here be spoilers, so pay attention. We are going to spoil all episodes of Better Call Saul, all episodes of Breaking Bad. El Camino might come up. We will cover everything except any possible set leaks or rumors. Everything else is like the very famous Cindy Crawford movie, Fair Game.
Please, the court, I believe that we're just about ready to get underway. Magnum Mills, for the record, please give us the details of this episode of Better Call Saul.
Thank you, Your Honor, and Foghorn Leghorn. You sound like maybe you're the same person, not quite sure. And this is episode 4 of season 6 of Better Call Saul, titled Hit and Run, originally aired May 2nd, 2022. And this is directed by Kim Wexler herself, Rhea Seehorn. This is really her first major directing credit anymore. Congratulations, Rhea. Very cool. This was written by Ann Cherkis. This is her 5th written by credit on Saul, the most recent being the guy for this in season 5. And the short plot synopsis is, despite assurances from the cartel, Gus takes extreme measures to protect himself against looming threats. Kim and Jimmy enlist the help of a local pro to put on a show for Cliff, Maine. Howard seeks outside counsel. With
all the details officially entered into the record, it's time to break down Hit and Run right here on the Saul Over Soon podcast.
And in our little teaser in the cold open here is another interesting one, because we're just seeing a man and a woman look like a nice little couple. They're just taking this nice bike ride through their neighborhood, and they stop because, like anybody would, somebody in the neighborhood has painted half of their house like bright red. They're not sure if it's fire engine red or tomato red, but it's very, very red. And they feel bad for the neighbors. And they get home, they pull into their driveway, and we notice that they're being recorded by several surveillance cameras. They put their bikes away in the garage and go into the house. There are multiple guys in there just hanging out, guns on the table. Couple doesn't even blink. This is all normal. And we see in the next room, there is a man who's viewing 7 different surveillance monitors, and they're of footage of Gus Fring's house.
Wow, man. I knew there was many. Good call on counting all 7. That's what you get on the Saul Over Soon podcast. Details like that. Magnum Mills, seriously, dude. I mean, obviously we figure out what all this is by the end of the episode, but before we found out, just what the hell did you think was going on here, man? I mean, this one was like, it had me intrigued, but also puzzled. I'm like, what is this? Are they, somebody? At first I thought it was like the police onto Gus's case or something, man. That was my first thought.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I thought, again, I didn't think it was what it ends up being, that it's actually like his cover house or whatever. But I thought maybe somebody trying to set up shop on him, rival, if not the Salamancas, maybe this other person or whatever that we heard about. I don't know. You never know with Gus. Yeah, Alvarez. Yeah, I honestly, I had no idea. I was just like, all right, after last episode, I wasn't really worried it meant that someone was going to die or something like that, I guess.
After the intro, we hear jazz music and see a Jaguar hood ornament. Howard Hamlin is driving his car and jamming to some nice jazz as he parks in a spot marked with a patients only sign in front of a nondescript building. He sits down to meet a man who I'm assuming is his therapist. Howard remarks that things aren't any worse at home, but Cheryl still won't talk about anything important. The therapist asks if Howard tried what he suggested. He says that he did, but doesn't elaborate any further. Howard then starts describing a dream that he had.
Do we really know much about Hamlin's personal life? I'm trying to remember here, but I don't ever remember him like in his wife going out to dinner with like Chuck and his girl back in the day or whatever. I always just for some reason kind of assumed he was like a bachelor with no kids. I don't know why. I don't know if that was just, maybe it was just me in my head from the way he kind of dresses and acts and everything. I don't know. He just struck me as kind of a bachelor dude, but I guess he is married. So I'd shout out Cheryl.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time we've actually heard Cheryl. I don't know that we ever kind of heard him talk about his wife, or as you said, saw her. I don't know that. It's never like, I got to run home to Cheryl and the kids. This is the first kind of introductory that we've got to Howard's personal life. Also, shout out to Howard seeking therapy, bro. Therapy, I think, could help everyone. There's a place for everyone there, and so good call for him. Anything else you want to add on this scene?
I mean, really, that's pretty straightforward here. Howard made a comment about in his dream, he's in an airport. The signs are all in a language you can't read. That's actually a pretty common thing. Most people can't read in their dreams. So I don't think the show was trying to say anything. I don't think there's a deeper meaning or anything. He's just, I'm just surprised that Hamlin doesn't have cooler dreams or something, I guess, man. He's just at an airport. Like, I don't know. I thought he was a little bit more baller than that. And the only thing I don't understand is, I guess it doesn't matter if all they need to do is get Cliff Main to see what happens. But I mean, Hamlin has an alibi here, right? Like a rock solid alibi. This is where he is. So if someone had a camera or something, like his car was there at this time, Hamlin can be like, yeah, that dude might be wearing my suit, but I'm here. Like I have Dr. Dude to be like, yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
So that's the only, I'm guessing they did it because they knew he would be there for a set amount of time. Like they knew where he would be, when, and for how long. So it makes sense from that aspect. I just think that if it ever did come down to someone actually like going to the police or they really looked at it, it would fall apart pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of keeps the same tracking as what they did earlier in the locker room. I mean, clearly using baby sugar, or what was it, baby powder or sugar or whatever. So it wasn't, all they had to do was open it up, taste it, look at it, smell it. They would have known that it wasn't actually cocaine.
Right. Like if Hamlin had brought it right to the club and they turned it into the cops, they would have figured it out pretty quick.
Exactly. Same thing here. I mean, to your point, guaranteed they watched his schedule. They knew, okay, Tuesdays or whatever, he's in therapy from 3 to 4. That's our window. We got to knock it out. And it was probably 45 to 50 minutes because most therapists don't even give you a full hour anymore.
That's how it works. They got to have a warm up. And dude, after that, when Hamlin's in there, we get just, this scene is just, it's so good. We get Saul comes walking up, but it's not really Saul. It's Howard Hamlin Saul or Samlin or whatever, Saulin, or dude. He walks up to Hamlin's car. He is dressed in Hamlin's suit. He's got like some bronzer on. I don't know if he went to the tanning bed. I don't know if he dyed his hair. He's got something going on with that. It's all styled the way that Hamlin styles his. Dude, from a little bit away, it's pretty close, dude. Like you would kind of buy it. And we do see that Wendy later on. She's buying it a little bit. It just great. I mean, this is just a fantastic visual. It's so much fun, and you can tell that Saul hates Hamlin so much he doesn't even like looking like him. So he just disgusted kind of the whole time. So great. He uses the fob and the key we saw him get last episode to unlock the Jaguar. He pulls the car out of the spot and he puts a traffic cone that he had brought along with him in the vacated spot to keep it reserved because people always respect the cone. And then he takes off in the Jag.
Yeah, and not much I can add here. I mean, this was just so amazing. I will say that when it first cuts and you see him and it's like, oh my God, that's Hamlin. But no, it's Saul. Like it was shocking, hilarious, and intriguing all at once. It was so good. He really pulls it off. I mean, holy cow. And yeah, loved it so much. And I also thought it was hilarious when he starts the car and it's just the jazz music blaring and he's like, oh,
it's the opposite. Hamlin was like jamming to it and Saul's like, oh, and he turns it off right away. It's like it's hurting him. Like it's, one of those movies where sound waves hurt the aliens or something. And they're like, oh no, turn it off.
Outstanding.
Causing him
Magnum
a little visible pain. There's not a lot to it really. He just basically gets in the car, takes off, puts the cone in, but from a visual,
but it was a wow moment. It was so good.
So, and you could tell that they spent a long time getting it perfect because the hair, I don't know how long, it's so perfect. I don't later, it must have been something you could wipe off, right? Because he didn't look so tan later, but he looked perfect there.
Yeah, it was, he nailed it. From there, we see Kim is sitting outside at a sidewalk cafe. She moves her chair so that the person sitting across from her will have a clear view of the road. She also hides a cell phone under the table where it's hidden by the tablecloth. Very smart, Kim. They exchange pleasantries and ready to order some lattes.
Yep, that's when she meets Cliff Main there. He rolls up, and again, not much here. I just like that Kim was trying to set it up to get everything perfect before he walks up, she's, moving the chair, getting the angle. She's even taking the menus and like seeing if she wants them vertical or horizontal and moving around. Just, you could tell she definitely had some nervous energy, because it looks like, Jimmy's got the Jag, the con's about to go down. Saul's in the Jag and he pulls up at a CDS motel, and he's there to pick up Wendy, who the last time we saw her, that was season 3 of Breaking Bad. Been a minute. He tries to hurry her into the car, but she's taking her sweet time. She wants to get a root beer, yada, yada. He finally manages to hustle her into the car, and they drive away. They park on the street, I'm assuming around the corner from where Kim is, and Saul gets out his phone, puts on the dashboard, and waits. He asks Wendy if she wants to go over it again, but she's good. And she's kind of staring at Saul, and she says, I really like your hair.
Yeah, this is great. And I gotta say, just real quick on Kim too, I think that this nervous energy, I think it's a rush, and I think she absolutely loves it, and she's starting to get hooked on it. And dude, it was very cool of them to bring back Wendy, exactly the same kind of trashy seediness that we've come to know when she was involved in various plot lines and different things. Really like that. Thought that was a cool callback.
Another great job with like hair, makeup, wardrobe. This is a character who first appeared on Breaking Bad like 15 years ago, but that's still ahead of this in the timeline. So they really do a good job with her. And I think that, I think they even said like the actress, really looks great. And it's one of those people, doesn't look like this at all in real life, obviously. And just shout out, the hair and makeup here. And especially you can even see it because they do a real close up on Saul after she gives him the hair compliment, and he's like, thanks. And then he's like, ugh. Like you could just tell he's like, fuck, dude. Like they like this. I don't like that people like this.
From there, Magnum Mills, we see Kim is now in full comfort mode, pitching Cliff Main on establishing a small team of lawyers to take on difficult cases. She admits they won't be able to solve any massive systemic problems, but they could do some good here. She shoots straight with Cliff, telling him that she needs him because of his connections within the state government. Cliff says that due to his son's drug problem, he's had a more personal view of the legal system and thinks that, Kim is onto something here. As he finishes speaking, Kim presses a button on the phone under the table. Very cool James Bond shit going on here, Magnum Mills. Love the scene.
It's a good thing that back when they're doing this, it's amazing that cell phones, remember the whole thing was like this, the smaller your cell phone got, the cooler it was. And now it's gone the exact opposite way where the bigger it is. So shout out if they were, if this was set now, she'd have a hard time hiding her iPad under the table or whatever. Very cool stuff. And I just got to say, she's so badass that this is just kind of like her excuse to meet with Cliff to set this up. And she's winning. Like she's actually, this was just kind of like she had to make something up, and this was just her dream, and she's pitching, and he's kind of feeling it. So, and I think the fact that we find out that his son has the drug problem is going to play into that a little bit, how he feels about Hamlin, because he's got, maybe a little bit deeper personal feelings than we knew on drug issues.
100%. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he actually says something to Hamlin, because again, we're not doing predictions in this podcast, but it wouldn't surprise me if he reaches out. From there, Magnum Mills, Saul gets Kim's signal on the phone, and it's go time, baby. He puts the Jag in gear and hauls some serious ass around the corner, screeches to a halt in the middle of the street in clear view of Cliff Main, where Cliff and Kim are sitting outside at a restaurant having tea. We then see Wendy get tossed out of the car onto the street, and the tires of the Jaguar screech once again as Saul hauls ass, taking off like a bat out of hell. Wendy screams at him and throws her shoe as the departing vehicle. Stunned, Cliff asks Kim if was that Howard? Kim plays dumb here, saying that it all happened so fast, and she's just not sure. Seeds of doubt here, Magnum Mills. Seeds of doubt.
Yep, and doing, again, I think one of the things that Saul taught her there, not to oversell it, not be like, oh yeah, that was definitely Hamlin. Just make Cliff again think that it was his idea. So it never even occurs to him that he could be being conned. And I think the fact that she actually had kind of something real to sell, I think it just solid scene. Obviously, this is pretty much what you expected to happen. Saul even warned Wendy to like make sure you don't get too close so I don't run over your legs or whatever. So not a lot of surprises here. I just thought it was executed very well. And I think that Cliff Main bought it completely. And shout out Wendy. She did, for whatever they paid her, she did put on a good little act. So she did good.
She sold it big time.
Tuck and rolled pretty well too. So she really overall, very good job. That's it for Saul. He's driving the Jaguar back to put it where he stole it. He's got the traffic cone there holding the spot. Now he's kind of enjoying the jazz a little bit, right? Because the hard part of the con is over. but he gets back to the spot and he finds that somebody has moved the cone and, of course, parked their BMW in the spot. To surprise, it was a 540, not a 7 Series. Saul panics because he's running out of time. He parks the Jaguar in a no parking zone next to the BMW. He then goes to the patients only sign in front of the BMW. It manages with great effort to pull it out of the ground. He then begins to jam it in front of where the Jaguar is parked. Just a hot second later, Hamlin arrives. Just as we see Saul just scooting off screen, Hamlin doesn't really notice anything wrong. He gets in the Jaguar and he pulls out. About 2 seconds after he leaves, we see the moved patients only sign just fall right over.
Yeah. And I got to say that the quote here for me that I love so much was Saul when he pulls in, he panics. He's like, they moved the cone? What kind of asshole moves a cone? I mean, he's not wrong.
That's going to be way up, but that's definitely in the running to be my favorite quote of the episode because the way he delivers it too. And I've had personal experience living in apartments, especially if you live somewhere in the north and you've had to shovel your spot out, but there's no reserved spots. But you're like, I just spent an hour shoveling the spot out. I got to go to the store. I'm going to be back in 20 minutes. I'm putting something in there. And if you come back and someone moved your cone or whatever you put in there, what kind of asshole moves a cone?
Yeah, them fighting here words. Overall, Magnum Mills, I got to say the scene was funny, tense. I really enjoyed it. Is it super realistic? Probably not. I don't know that you're going to wiggle out one of those street signs. It's probably cemented in the ground, but I did think it was cool how it worked out, and it kept me interested in the entire time.
Allegedly, I've heard of college kids stealing signs and shit like that. I don't think it's as tough as you think. I think getting it in the ground is way more difficult than getting it out and getting it to stay like that. But that was a perfect cut with the timing because he literally just pulls out of the frame and it just falls. It just overall, just the whole thing perfectly done. The only thing I might have wanted is remember when he almost got caught in the locker room, how he had to get butt ass naked to hide himself. I'm just wondering if Hamlin had been 3 seconds earlier, how he could have played it off. I have no real good ideas. There's no getting naked here that wouldn't do it, I think. But I would have loved to have to come up with one last thing because those improvs by Saul are always so good.
Oh yeah, and no doubt he would have been able to do so. From there, Magnum Mills, we see Kim pulls up at the motel we saw before when Saul got Wendy. Kim gives her an envelope of cash, unfortunately did not get her the case of root beer that Saul promised her, and tells her to be careful. A car pulls up across the street and Wendy complains that it's 5-0 and those undercover cops will kill business for the rest of the day. Wendy gets out and heads back to the motel. Kim leaves, but the car that is supposedly the undercover cops begins to follow her. She begins to tense up, but the car turns down the road behind her and she lets out a sigh of relief. Magnum Mills, I gotta say here, bro, were you a little bit surprised that Kim offered to free legal services to Wendy at any time? I mean, that
no,
I know she's like all about this pro bono
that's what
thing.
she's doing. That's what she's doing. That's why I think that's kind of her point to do the cons too, to get the Sandpiper money, so then she can just do jobs like that because that's really what she wants. That's the kind of work that fulfills her, and that's why it actually ties into that's the pitch that she gives Cliff May basically. Like she just wants to take on cases for people who can't afford them and they're too complex for regular, public defenders to be able to deal with, more or less. So I think it all really tracks really well. Again, so I'm assuming here, is this car related to, remember, I think it was the end of episode 2 when they were leaving the Kellermans, we saw a car follow them. Do you think that this car following her is related to that car?
I'm going to make that assumption, Magnum Mills. I think that's probably right now.
Yeah, from what we find out at the end of the episode, I would think it is, but it's a different car. I'm just assuming they're rotating guys or whatever, or cars or whatever. But I'm assuming, so it's not two. There's not 2 different sets of people tracking them. Is all
I don't think so. And I'll tell you what, dude, I didn't really believe that those were cops either. Yeah, maybe undercover, but are they really going to be like having rims and like the extra tint job? I mean, that might be a little too undercover. Like, I mean, that's like Larry Fishburne, dude. That's like deep cover
that's
shit.
Spoken like a man who's not seen Beverly Hills Cop, because Axel Foley definitely requisitions a Ferrari because you need that shit to convince the other drug dealers. So Beverly Hills Cop logic as it stands, and I'm pretty sure in this court, Beverly Hills Cop logic, it's like the Chewbacca defense works every time.
I mean, sustained. I will, absolutely. But point being, I wasn't positive it was the cops there. So I guess that's what I was trying to get at.
Same. And I was actually more worried figuring it wasn't the cops. So, and then we go back to their condo and Saul's telling Kim what happened with Hamlin's Jaguar when he came back to the parking spot and someone had moved the cone. Then he asked her if Cliff Main bought it, and Kim says that he did. She also tells Saul that she pitched Cliff Main on what she wants to be doing, and he went for it. She doesn't think that he'll write a check himself, but he will deliver. They take a moment to bask in their recent good fortunes, and Kim asks Saul if he ever feels like he's being followed. Then she tells Saul about being followed out of the motel by a car that Wendy told her was undercover cops, but the car turned away right after she noticed it. Saul says not to worry. She just feels like this because they got away with it. It seems too good to be true, but nobody is following her.
I like this relationship dynamic though. You kind of, the way this scene was shot, you kind of hear them from a distance, and it's a dim kind of living room area of their apartment, kitchen living room area, and it kind of shows down the hallway and you hear them kind of talking. And as the camera gets closer to the room, you realize Saul is telling the story from today, and Kim's on the bed just laughing, and you can just, it was a good moment. I mean, this is a pretty healthy couple at times, and it makes me really happy to see Saul and Kim in a positive, happy relationship. That's like relationship goal shit, dude. That's cool. After a day, you come home, she's on the bed listening to you, you're telling stories, she's laughing at you. That's awesome. And I just thought Saul did a great job with the physical, and I'm wrestling it like a bear. I mean, that was pretty cool.
I give him credit. Definitely, that was the plus of that. He's not even really exaggerating too much, I don't think, because you saw the effort he was putting in on that time.
Yeah.
He didn't skip arm day. He didn't skip arm, shoulders, or back today. He's good with all that, or whatever. He doesn't have to go to the gym at all today. And I also think that he's not so great at the Boston accent, though, right? Just not, of all the things Saul's good at, Boston accent, probably not at the top of the list. And we do get a little bit of a modified version of the cone story where, because we heard him say it before, but he always telling to Kim, he says, who moves cones? Who does that? And Kim says, narcissist. So I was like, you're damn right. And like you said, the couple goals thing, when Saul comments to her, like, are we on a roll? Are we on a roll? Like, that's really, like you talked about, kind of that good juju, those good feelings and everything. Like, they're having a moment.
They're having a moment here. One thing I will say is I enjoy Saul comforting her and kind of coaching her on how to live through some of the guilt here and the worry and the paranoia that comes along with doing cons. But they kind of made a point here to reiterate, no one knows what we're doing but us. And as we get to the end of this episode, Magnum Mills, we find out that that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, but again, Mike's got it locked in his proverbial vault, I think, really. If there's one man you can trust with your secrets, I think it's Mike Ehrmantraut. So I'm not
100.
too worried about that, but you never know. He's got guys following him. Maybe one of them would say something or whatever if they got arrested. I don't think so, because they're Mike's guys. Remember Breaking Bad, he keeping them on the payroll, keeping them not talking. So usually trust Mike's guys, but you're right, that could be a thing. And before I think the one interesting part is, when they're kind of talking about the guilt thing or whatever, and Saul quotes the Bible. He quotes Proverbs 28:1. He says, the wicked flee when no man pursueth. In the Kim in snap, you think we're wicked? And I thought that was interesting, because that's what she took away from that quote, was just the wicked part. And she was like, it must have been right on her brain.
Yeah. Well, again, I think she's feeling a little bit of guilt, a little bit of worry, a little bit of paranoia here. She's doing dirt in the streets, bro. She's riding dirty, and she's starting to feel that sting a little bit. The next day, Magnum Mills, we see Saul arrives at the courthouse, but man, oh man, nobody seems happy to see the bull. First, security requires him to remove his shoes, belt, and jacket, dicking him around at the front. Nobody is being asked to do so except him. He's literally the only one asked to go through this. Then he tries to get a preliminary hearing rescheduled. No dice there either. And our old buddy Bill, the prosecutor, is struggling with the vending machine. So Saul gives it a little love, a little magic touch, like the Fonz. Bill walks away without saying anything. So Saul chases him into the stairwell, and Bill tells him that he went too far by scamming the court, that it was just wrong. Bill walks away, and Saul yells at him, big words, prove it. Bill tells Saul, there's proving, and then there's knowing. Kind of a big deal here, Magnum Mills, right? Because we see this pendulum shift here where it's like, oh shit, now all Saul's goodwill has gone from all the shit he did from the years working at that courtroom, and picking up all those cases and all his relationships, that could be gone. But later in this episode, we see the pendulum swing back to where maybe, just maybe, he can ride a wave here to success he's never seen.
To put it in sports terms, he just got traded without knowing it, because that used to be his home field. Now he's going to be the visiting team every time he comes there. That's
Yep.
kind of what you're establishing. Even the line that Pinkman says, no, we need a criminal lawyer. And that's what I think Bill's getting at here. That's too far. It's one thing to advocate for your clients because that's your job, but to openly know that they're, willingly deceiving the court. Yeah, I think that's a bridge too far here. And I don't think there's any real coming back for him here. Again, short of, being a rat, and we know he's not going to do that. So he's probably persona non grata here at the courthouse going forward, unfortunately.
100%. And, I just got to hand it to Saul here. Despite all the things that are thrown at him, homie stays positive, man. He stays positive.
That's who he is, dude. That's
It's all
who he
good,
is.
man.
Dude, that has to be. You have to kind of, it's that namaste shit, dude. Maybe he really is Hamlin. He's just kind of living his mantra or what have you. Let's go over and see how Kim's doing at work. It seems like she's doing better than Saul, especially because she apparently just uses a restaurant as her office. I think that's probably a step up from the nail salon. Maybe Saul should think about that, just saying. And so they're there. She's meeting with a client over lunch. And as she waits for her client to finish up eating, she notices that car again that was following her earlier. So she asks her client to watch her stuff, and she heads outside to the car. She takes down the license plate number, and then she confronts the two men inside. She asks if they're following her, and they don't answer. She asks if they're with APD, and they still don't answer her. She takes out her phone and says that if they won't answer her, she's calling the cops and reporting their license plate number because she feels threatened. The driver starts the car, apologizes for disturbing Kim, and they drive off.
I don't know, man. We also do the Ozark podcast, and if you're not checking that out, you absolutely should. The hit show Ozark, and we talk about the balls on Wendy, one of the characters from Ozark. Kim's got some cojones too here, right? I mean, I just love how she operates with so much confidence, and just she had the hand in that, which in no world should she have had the hand. That was very impressive by Kim.
And it was also, I think, one of those things where like someone's like playing with a bomb or something because they don't know it's real. They think it's fake. I think she thinks that they're cops, so she's not really worried she's in any danger. I think if she knew Lalo was still alive, zero chance she approaches that car. She's only doing it because she feels relatively safe because she's assuming they're cops.
From there, Magnum Mills, it's now Saul's turn to have lunch. She's at a table outside of the courthouse. It appears nobody wants to sit with him, and Saul is all alone. Within 30 seconds, though, he gets 3 phone calls from prospective clients. He heads back to his office at the nail salon, only to find that there are 10 more people waiting inside for him. Saul confirms that he's Salamanca's guy and organizes the crowd before he begins to meet with the prospective clients. Really cool scene here for me, Magnum Mills.
Oh, this is, yes, just the best. Just the visual of him walking in and having the nail salon basically be full with all the people. And then you see even a couple guys are sitting like in the, the actual chairs for service. And I wonder like how many of them actually did decide like, oh, fuck it. While I'm waiting, I'll get my toes did or whatever you do there. And again, you kind of see his face and it lights up for Saul because he's like, oh, it's happening, kind of the old Ron Paul meme or whatever. It's happening. So he's very excited. And, it takes him in to get everyone organized. The way he organizes them is he calls, all right, who has appointments? And we hear 4 people who have appointments. The first is our man, Spooge. And Spooge is actually the guy at the beginning. He comes up, he says, you're the guy. Saul says, what guy? He's like, oh, Salamanca's guy. And then when he goes to call, it sounds like, Mr. Spooge. And then he says, oh, just Spooge. So, all right, just Spooge. Duly noted. All right. So that's the first appointment. Second is Gail Moreno. Third is Dante. Fourth is Rocco Kugler. That definitely, like that, Rocco Kugler is either a boxer or he's served like 3 to 5 for assault already or something like that.
Or he's a struggling porn star. One of the 3
call.
here. Yeah.
I mean, actually, you probably moonlighted, and he's also a bouncer, right? You can do all those jobs at the same time, I think.
100%.
If you name your kid Rocco, I don't really believe in predetermination, but if you name your kid Rocco, I think you're limiting their career path. Just saying. And like the waiting system, then is he lines everyone up outside, and he just takes their hands and writes a number in Sharpie with a Sharpie, writes a number on their hands. It's just.
And he gets to the guy with the leather gloves from riding the bike, and he's like, nice leather, writes right on it. I mean, this is great. This is Saul really in all of his glory here. I mean, this is the guy was built for this, dude. He's just so good.
It's funny because that was my other thought when I saw all of it. I'm like, oh, Mrs. Wynn's gonna be pissed. Because she always hated Jimmy, she's always been like, they're kind of like frenemies a little bit, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like she doesn't like hate his guts, but she's just always just annoyed by him. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is and you even see the bit when you get back, you're like, cucumber water for paying customers only. He's like, they're all paying.
They're all paying.
Just gives her loot finally. No more messing
her
around or
cucumber
whatever. Here's
water.
some cash.
She's always been stingy on that cucumber water. I mean, that's
And to Saul's credit, he at least does try to pitch them on the getting the spa services while they wait. So, you know, maybe that's something he should have included ultimately keeping up when he got his new office.
I totally agree with that. I love the cross sell there. And Magnum Mills, we see Kim is still at the restaurant and she's just finished up meeting with another client. She looks out the window again before walking up to the counter to pay her tab. And she looks out the window again and we hear Mike's voice say, "They're gone." Mike asks her to sit down and says that he'll answer any questions that he can. He explains that he has men following her and Saul. They don't work for the police and they don't care what Saul and Kim are up to. Mike says that he's trying to solve a problem. That problem is Lalo Salamanca. Kim uneasily replies that Lalo is dead before realizing that he isn't. Mike says that they're watching anyone that Lalo might contact. He doesn't think that he'll reach out as he has much bigger fish to fry. Kim asks who he works for, and Mike says that he told her he would answer every question that he could. Kim figures out that he's the guy from the desert with Saul and asks why he's telling her this and not Jimmy. Mike says that he thinks she's made of sterner stuff. He tells her that if he sees the guys following her again, that she should just ignore them. As he goes to leave, Kim says that she does know him. He's the parking attendant from the courthouse. Mike says, "I was," and walks away.
Dude, finally, like we got a real scene with Mike and Kim. Just all the yes. It just great. I enjoyed everything about this scene. And I especially liked at the end, like when Mike leaves, finally you get just the camera lingers on Kim for a couple more seconds and you see her trying not to lose her shit because, oh shit, Lalo's alive. And I think that's really going to probably alter her behavior going forward. And this isn't really related, but we see when Mike leaves, he's only having his cup of coffee, but he still makes sure to fold at least a full dollar bill, put it under the cup when he leaves. Mike Ehrmantraut, probably a lot better tipper than Howard Hamlin, right?
100%. I think Mike values the service industry and people who are working hard for their dollar. I think he's got a soft spot for that. Howard Hamlin, not the guy you want to wait on.
Yeah, I'd say Mike, like if you fucked it up real bad, he might not tip you or something. If you really screwed it up, you only have one job and you can't do that. But if you're at least competent, I bet you he's tipping like 25+%. Like Mike's he's that guy, I think. And then I guess we've had enough restaurants, enough eating, enough nail salons. It's time to see what Gus is up to. He arrives home in his trusty Volvo wagon. He gets the mail and he goes inside. He changes his clothes and we notice that he's wearing some sort of body armor. Bulletproof. I don't know if it's a full bulletproof vest, but he's definitely got some armor on. And we see that he's carrying a gun in an ankle holster and he doesn't appear to be comfortable or enjoy having to carry a weapon. He heads down to his basement and opens a hidden door leading to a tunnel. He walks through the tunnel, which leads to the basement of his neighbor's house, which is where the couple from the teaser there, the cold open, that's where they live. And we see him, he walks right past them. He makes his way up to the room we saw with all the surveillance monitors, and Mike is there waiting for him. He was worried about a van that was following him, but Mike clears the van. Gus then scolds Mike about a guy that Mike had assigned to cover Gus at work. Apparently, Mike told Gus that the man had experience as a short order cook, but Gus says he's not up to Pollo standards. Mike says that he'll find a replacement, but they're stretched thin. Mike suggests that maybe Lalo is really dead, but Gus does not waver. Mike wonders if he's alive, where is he?
Yeah, and I gotta say, dude, this was really cool for me. I loved how this was done, all the way from Gus kind of smiling and being the chicken man, the Los Pollos way, and he's smiling, checking the mail, getting in. As soon as that door closes, it's just a serious face, not necessarily happy looking, gets changed. It was interesting that they took so much time with his gun that he wears around his ankle. There was a lot kind of to that. He saw it, took it off, looks at it, put it back on. Dude, the secret passageway here, I mean, this is right out of the game Clue. I freaking love this. This was really cool. I got a soft spot for any kind of Murphy doors or secret rooms or hidden passageways. That is the shit for your boy Jamie G. But I love when we realize, and shout out to the couple, the old couple, they just go about their life without ever even seeing or acknowledging all these people coming and going in their house. I mean,
Oh, they offers the one iced tea and everything. They offer
there
drinks
was the
and
one
stuff.
I
So
see at the
they
beginning, but it
interact.
was
It's
cool
not like they're
though.
ghosts or something, but this is normal to them. This is just completely normal, happens every day.
Yep. And I just thought they did a great job. Kind of the actors there did a really good job. Dude, what do you think, man? Do you think Mike's doubting Gus here a little bit?
This is Mike. He's just being practical. If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, can you just hear Mike saying something like that? If everyone else thinks he's dead, because Gus's read is just the seeing Hector Salamanca's eyes. That's his reasoning. It's for a guy like Mike. Mike seems like to be more of a hard evidence fact kind of guy, which makes sense given his law enforcement background.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I think he also trusts Gus's instincts because Gus has been a step ahead of him before. So, and Gus is also his employer. And Mike seems like that guy. Like, all right, if this is the job, then I'm going to do the job to the best of my ability, even if I don't think it's necessarily right. Even if he thinks it's all for nothing, he's still going to do it well. He's not going to do it, no half measures. If he said, if you're going to treat like Lala's alive, he's going to treat it like he's alive. And with that, just real quick, when you first saw the tunnel, where did you think it was going to go?
Dude, honestly, I thought it was like some hidden like either drug processing facility or something with where his cash is, something. I did not see it coming that it was gonna walk right into the neighbor's house. I thought it was something else.
Yeah, I figured he must have some sort of hidden meeting room or surveillance bunker or something like that. And for the record, they did talk about a few of these things on the Better Call Saul Insider podcast. Apparently the couple we see, that's like a real couple, Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus, like the whole thing with the gun and everything is because that's not his deal. He's annoyed that he has to carry a weapon right now. Like it's just driving him crazy that he has to do it because they can't take care of this Lalo problem. You know how Gus is. So that's just bothering him. And what they did is they actually built these are real houses you see from the outside and the first floor, but the basements and the tunnel are fake. They actually built a set that looked like a dumbbell. They had one basement on each side connected by a little tunnel. And that's how they did that all as a one shot. That's a whole set. And then they do cuts when you do go up the stairs at the other house. But pretty cool, I thought. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very excellently done scene.
Yeah, no, shout out to the entire production crew and just the idea people. I mean, this was awesome. I got it, dude. I really enjoyed the little dialogue between Gus and Mike, and Gus is irritated. Okay,
this is a great exchange.
This is a great exchange where it's like, the man you placed in my kitchen, you told me he had experience as a short order cook, and Mike goes, 2 years at McDonald's in college. He's not there just to make French fries. I need guys in close. And Gus just looks at him and says, he's not up to Poyle's standards. I just love this. What do you think Poyle's standards is?
This is where if I had time to make the meme, you would be something like this. And then next you cut to a picture of Mike and Gus where Mike's like, I can't find anybody that meets your criteria. And the next scene is a picture of Mike dressed up working at Los Pollos Hermanos because Gus will find a way. Because Mike would be a good short order cook, definitely, right? Like Mike could do it. I have confidence that Mike can do basically anything, like pilot a plane, cook a 5-star meal, correctly make the Pollo's chicken bites or whatever the hell they got now. So
yep, I'm pretty much, if there's a job that needs to be done, no matter what it is, Mike is in my top 3 choices of anyone to do it ever, no matter what it is. Just go to Mike, dude.
For a dude, dude's literal motto is no half measures. That's a kind of, it's like the boy, like Mike Holmes, like the contractor guy. Like that's who you want in a guy like this. All the way, dude. You want the full measure guy. That's our man Mike Ehrmantraut. Then it's time for the final scene of the episode. We see Kim Park in a very familiar strip mall. Saul meets her and shows her an available office space. He says that Mrs. Wynn kicked him out and he needs a new office ASAP. Kim asks if it was a bad day, and Saul replies that it was actually a great day. He's picking up tons of new clients. Kim asks if it's because he represented Lalo. Saul says, yeah, that's part of it, but he quickly turns the talk back to the prospective office. He says that the place is a shithole, but the price is right, and he asks Kim what she thinks. She says that it's small, it's dirty, and the whole place smells funny. But the location is perfect, and the parking is good. Plus, Taco Cabeza is right around the corner. She just asks that he promises not to move the toilet, which is sitting right in the middle of the office space. Saul jokingly agrees, and they head off to get some tacos. As they walk away, Kim ominously looks over her shoulder.
Yeah, this was a really good scene, because this is kind of that, we've seen a lot of this Kim and Saul type of scenes, and Kim has something on her mind. Saul wants her to just be accepting to what he's trying to do, and she understands that and kind of gives at the end. And we've seen they're just so good. They've been doing this for, shit, man, 6 seasons now, and they've got so much chemistry on the cam here. I really like this, and I just love how this ended with them going to get tacos, and I wanted tacos very badly when I finished watching this.
You kind of have to figure though, right? Like if she was going to tell Saul about Lalo, it would have happened here, right? Like I'm just assuming if she's not telling him here, then this might just be something she's going to keep to herself. And just to kind of, and again, the final shot of her looking over her shoulder, I think is supposed to convey that, where Saul's all happy looking to the future, she's stuck looking over her shoulder.
Yeah, really cool. Well done there, Magnum Mills. And basically that's the episode, man. So that means it's time for one of my favorite things we do here on Saul Over Soon podcast, and that's Mike's Always Right. Pretty simple here. We're going to examine the actions of Mike Ehrmantraut in this episode and ask one simple question. Was Mike right?
Dude, never doubt Ehrmantraut. Let's see here. Mike's got a problem. It's a big problem, though. Lalo Salamanca, and he's working on it. As we see, he's got all hands on deck. And I, too, think that working 2 years in McDonald's would qualify you to make French fries. I think that's cool. And he makes the right call to tell Kim about Lalo instead of telling Saul. And he also rightly questions Gus's decision that, Lalo's still alive. But when push comes to shove, he doesn't outright disagree with him and does what he needs to do, even though he's stretched thin. Dude, he's like LL Cool J, man. He's doing it, and doing it well.
And he represents Queens. She was raised out in Brooklyn. I'm sure the audience is just falling over in shock here, Magnum Mills, that Mike is always right. I mean, it's not like he's always right week after week, is he?
Not at all, dude. It's not like it's going to be the same thing next week. Hey, maybe he will screw up at some point. You never know. Anything can happen. And, speaking of what happened this week, we got a little bit of courthouse action with Saul. He wasn't actually in the courtroom, but he was in the courthouse, and everybody seems to be hating on him. So Jamie G is someone who's sort of adjacent to the legal profession, let's say. How would you get off the proverbial dunzo list that Saul has found himself on?
Puppies. Puppies are always good. My recommendation is you show up with a bunch of puppies and everyone loves you.
Holy shit, dude. That's actually a pretty great suggestion. Did you learn that in law school?
Actually, Magnum Mills, I learned it at PetSmart.
Oh, wow. Did you represent them or something?
Let's just say that I'm banned from all PetSmart locations nationwide.
Okay, you can bury the lead there, dude. I'll give you that. So, hey, maybe you really are an attorney at Paw. Let's switch gears here, Jamie G. What was your favorite quote or line from this episode?
For me, Magnum Mills, it's gotta be our boy Spooge. I mean, I just thought this was so funny. I mean, there's not tons of times every episode, especially the first couple episodes of the season, they were super intense with the whole nacho thing. You didn't laugh a lot. This was really funny, dude. I mean, when he goes, he's reading, actually, he pulls out his little notebook and he's got all the names of the people who have appointments. He's like, Mr. Spooge. It's like, it's Spooge, just Spooge. Just Spooge. Duly noted. Got it. I mean, just great stuff here, man. And anybody who goes by Spooge, I mean, that's somebody that probably needs an attorney like Saul Goodman. So it looks like it's going to be a good fit. Love the line. Super funny. What about you, Magnum Mills?
Well, and actually, remember, it was a Spooge and partner, actually. So, and that was great, too, when they're going back to his office. I was like, oh, yeah, take a left at the washing machine. That was, I don't think we mentioned that, but that was just a phenomenal. It is so matter-of-factly. And honorable mention here, Bill, when he said there's proving and then there's knowing. I think that's a pretty thematically powerful statement. I think it speaks also kind of, that's going to be what Saul does. Like going forward, that's how Saul will operate. That's his whole thing when he's trying to get people off and, because he's a criminal attorney. But top line, so much fun, dude. They move the cone? What kind of asshole moves a cone? That was so real to me, dude. Like right down to my core. That was like the realest, dude, for really real, forever, ever. Love that. That brings us to our favorite scene or moment. And it's my turn to go first. Look, the best scene is the Kim and Mike scene. I'm not going to lie. But my favorite personal scene is when Saul has to move that patients only sign. Just the physical comedy Odenkirk does, ripping that goddamn sign out. Like Andy's all dressed like Howard Hamlin when he's doing it and then trying to jam it in the ground. That I watched it multiple times. Extremely entertaining. My favorite scene or moment from the episode. What was yours, Jamie G?
Magnum Mills, it is the entire scene from the first time we get to see Saul as Howard or Solin or however we want to do it. This mesh up was incredible. I agree with you. Moving right on, I have the exact same feelings and love for it. That is my favorite scene. And in honor of one of our favorite characters, it's time to choose our Nacho Man.
Nacho Man. I want to be a Nacho Man.
That's right, Nacho Man or woman of the week. Magnum Mills, who is your Nacho Man, your MVP of this episode? Hit and run.
I got to give it up for our girl, Kim Wexler, Rhea Seehorn, not only because, again, she's getting what she wants here. They pull off the con on Hamlin there. She gets Cliff Main to agree to her thing. She manages to hear that Lalo's alive and still hold her shit together. She gets to meet Mike for the first time. And also, Rhea Seehorn, the actress, directed the episode, first-time director. I don't think it can be anybody else. So I'm giving it to Rhea Seehorn / Kim Wexler. Jamie G, how about yourself?
Fantastic stuff there, man. I really wanted to give it to Mike Ehrmantraut just for kind of all the reasons that we laid out, and Mike's always right, but I'm not doubting the Ehrmantraut, but I'm gonna give it to my guy Saul Goodman. And here's why. Yes, it's probably a little bit of an easy way out, but dude, I appreciate Saul's consistency and his desire and the way he turned a bad situation and it worked out to be an outstanding situation for him. I just thought this was really special how he went from being absolutely losing everything, blackballed, 86, whatever you want to call it, in the courthouse, and realized that he had to pivot here. And nature always provides, bro. Solution provided itself for Saul Goodman. And because he did that thing, it may have cost him all his inroads at the courthouse, but now he's got a plethora of clients that are just lining up to make him their attorney and pay his retainer. This is the start of Saul Goodman's success, and I don't think he ever slows down from here. And that is why, until he becomes Gene, that is why he is my guy this week, and I'm giving it to Saul Goodman. Plus, he pulled off another killer fucking con.
Those are Nacho men, dude. R.I.P. Nacho. We miss you, baby, and very good stuff there. And it's time to get out of the legal adjacent stuff and get into the university adjacent stuff, because we're going to put a grade on this episode. So Jamie G, on a scale of 1 to 10, Marco's pinky rings, how many are you giving to Hit and Run?
Ooh, man, pinky ring game right here, bro. Look, man, it was an episode that set up some stuff. It was kind of a chess piece to a little bit. We did get more Kim and Saul. I actually really like this. I'm not going to be hypercritical here. I'm giving this 9 pinky rings. I thought this was another really good episode in what has turned out to be an outstanding start to season 6.
I'm right in the same universe here. I actually had it around 8.5, but I decided to bump it up a little bit because I really did enjoy the humor, and they did undercut it a little bit with like him finding out about Lalo. And you also do get some pretty, like, Saul gets the office here. It's another one of those kind of landmarks, those road signs we're hitting on the way to the Breaking Bad timeline. So I'm going to go with 8.8 Marco's pinky rings for Hit and Run. And we're almost done. Now we got nothing left but some wild ass speculation. I'm going to start by asking you the easiest question you've ever heard, right? We have to fucking see Lalo Salamanca next week. It's happening, right?
He is quietly turning into the Alfie Solomons of from Peaky Blinders. And if you're not following and listening to Peaky Blinders podcast, your boys got that for you. Make sure you do that. Check out Peaky Blinders. It's going to drop on Netflix soon. It's fucking awesome. What is that? Magnum Mills June. Keep an eye out for that.
I think. Yeah,
June 6th. We got, so unless you got BCC, we got you covered when it drops June 6th. You're going to fucking love it. But my point is we have not gotten enough of him. My money is on. He's got to show up next week.
I'm going to say I think it's next week, but what I think is going to happen now with the fact that we haven't seen him is that when we finally get Lalo, it's going to be one of those deals where he gets almost the whole episode to himself. Like a solid 2/3 of it, say, like it won't be completely on him, but we'll find out what he's been up to all this time. Like I bet you we get an episode with him that takes us all the way through him turning around that truck and heading back into Mexico to finding out that he's now back in Albuquerque or whatever. So that's my prediction there for Lalo. Is I think we see him next week, but even if it's the week after that, when we see him, we're going to get all the Lalo. So as long as maybe it's just me being hopeful, but I'm going with that. Jamie G, you got something else for me?
Yeah, I think, and this is kind of cheating because we know, from Breaking Bad, Saul thinks that Lalo, maybe sent Jesse and Walt at one point, or Nacho. So I think Saul eventually finds out that Lalo's alive here, but it's not going to be Kim who tells him. And I think just maybe it might set up something where Saul goes to tell Kim and she admits to him that she's known.
I like that call there. And I'll stick with Lalo for one more here and say that, how Mike makes a big deal that it's 1,000 to 1 that he'll reach out to them. I'm saying Lalo 1,000, he does reach out to them. And I think maybe even like when we see Lalo in that episode, that's how it ends, with like him calling Saul or Kim on the phone and they answer and we see like he's watching them through binoculars or some shit like that. I think that would be pretty cool. So I'm going with something like that.
Yeah. And, it was interesting to show that Gus was wearing that body armor, and they spent a lot of time kind of focusing on the gun that he's got to carry. It just sounds like in order to kind of get through the Gus versus Lalo thing, Gus might end up, obviously we know Gus lives because of Breaking Bad, but he might end up using that armor, or at least that gun. I
think that we have to see a confrontation between Lalo and Gus, right? At some point between now and the end of the season. It would be very unsatisfying not to have that. And I think this is going to be a meeting for blood when it does happen. So I think there's a good possibility of him needing that body armor and or the gun. And, we got the Hamlin plays playing itself out here, but now they brought up him having a wife for a reason. So I have to think she's going to be part of the plan somehow, right? I mean, would they go as far to like get him divorced? I mean, I don't know, man. I'm starting to think that, that, like you mentioned, Peaky Blinders, like Kim's on her no limitations thing.
Yeah, she really is, dude. And I think she's starting to, she's getting off on the juice here. She likes this shit. Wouldn't surprise me if Cheryl ends up in some part of the con here. Magnum Mills, gun to your proverbial Johnson, better guard your groin. Does Saul leave that toilet in the middle of the office? Yay or nay?
No, he in fact doesn't. Although we did see from when we saw his house, he does like having his own throne room. Basically, it's not just your average. Like you could. Some people probably have bedrooms in New York City that are as small as Saul's just toilet area, not the whole bathroom, just the toilet area. So I think that's right on there. He does move it. It would have been kind of funny if he would have just left it there and built the office around it. No, he doesn't happen. So whatever. And I will say that some point between now and the end of the series, we see the Kellermans one more time. It's because Saul drives out there and he buys that inflatable Statue of Liberty. So calling that. And those were fun things. One less fun thing, Jamie G, will we ever get another scene between Kim and Mike?
Man, I'm gonna say yes, but it's a real bad one where I think Kim might die.
Ooh, so I guess I was gonna say, all right, one more. Do we ever get a Kim and Gus scene? But I'm assuming he would probably be there in that scenario.
Yep. I have a feeling it's either Mike has to deal with Kim somehow, some way, and he either kills her or lets her go and she lives her life out someplace else far, far away. But I have a feeling there's one more in store between those two, and it's probably not the best scene that we ever get. Well, Magnum Mills, if you need an attorney at law, I will not defend you in the courtroom. I am Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, and I think that wraps this up, baby. What's on tap, Magnum Mills, for Saul Over Soon next?
Next up, we're going to be covering episode 5 of season 6. That's titled Black and Blue. That will air on Monday, May 9th, and the Saul Over Soon episode covering that will come out on Wednesday, May 11th.
Thanks again for checking us out, everybody. We really appreciate you tuning in to Saul Over Soon podcast. Please remember, like, subscribe on our YouTube, rate, comment on your podcast app. It helps us out a ton. We really appreciate it. Magnum Mills, tell these beautiful people where they can find all of our totally awesome, super free, super chill content.
We are the Saul Over Soon podcast on your favorite podcast platform, on social media. It's All Over Soon. From the Joe Blow Football Show, find us at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. Like Jamie G mentioned, we're also the Peaky Blinders podcast. That's PBP, Peaky Blinders podcast, on your favorite podcast platform and at Peaky Podcast on social media. We're covering the final 7 episodes of the Netflix series Ozark. We're the Ozark podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and we're Ozark podcast on social media. And we continue to cover It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on The Night Pod Cometh. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Night Pod Cometh. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. Thank you again for checking us out. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week to cover Black and Blue. And hey, you're in the game now. This has been Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way affiliated with Better Call Saul, AMC, Sony Pictures Television, Netflix, or any other production company or association. The views here are those of the hosts only and do not represent any other entity. Thanks again for checking us out, and stay tuned because it's Saul Over Soon.